Okay, hello everybody. This is probably a shock to people who have been subscribed to me forever, and maybe a nice surprise for people who have just recently subscribed to me. I'm back, sort of. This is Beastly Charizard 13 making his first original video in nearly 2 whole years, but if you want to get technical, it's been close to a full freaking decade. I mean, I never finished. I never finished my Epic Mickey walkthrough. Remember when I did walkthroughs? Remember when I did Let's Plays of video games? Oh my god, that was such a long time ago. It was back in high school. I, I'm a master procrastinator. I don't. I got a bad habit of not finishing what I started. Um, I also have a fanfiction profile on fanfiction.com. It's .com, right? And I've kind of abandoned that. Unfinished stories and everything. If you want to check that out, my account name is the same as my YouTube username, Beastly Charizard 13. That's my username. So go look me up and read my unfinished work if you want to. Like, probably the one major creative endeavor that I actually saw through from beginning to end was my SMBO series. And for those who are new to the channel, who have probably only subscribed because I upload Super Bowl commercials, my SMBO series is something I did long time ago, 10, 11, 12 years ago. It ran from 2011 to the very, very end of 2013. It was a website called SuperMarioBrothers.org, hence SMBO, and it had a bunch of old Mario Flash games on it, and it basically was just a series of me playing / reviewing all 91 of them. It took me a while. I had a couple long breaks in between for different reasons, like my internet went out or I just was procrastinating. But this isn't a video about any of that. I mean, and I can't promise you I'll be making videos like this on the regular anymore. But I did just see the Super Mario Brothers movie. freaking loved it. So this is kind of like part reaction video, part commentary video, part just hey, I'm still willing to make videos. I really wish I still was making videos, and I might. If some of you might recall, I did like a CinemaSin style video on the very first episode of Gravity Falls. That was a while ago. That was back in 2017, and I actually finished the video for episode 2, but didn't bother to upload it. But now that I've said that part out loud, I might just do that, and I might finish the whole rest of the series. I've got a lot of time on my hands. I'm currently unemployed, out of my own volition. Um, I am looking for another job, but I'm most likely going to go back to my old job at Food Lion. So if there's a that's kind of what I've been up to lately in like the 10 years since I've stopped making regular videos, which I'm again kind of very much regretting. I finished high school. I went to a local community college, finished college. I got a fancy associate's degree. I've switched around a few jobs, and I have my own place now, actually. So that's that. But like I said, this is primarily a video about the Super Mario Bros. Movie because I have a ton of thoughts about it. It was so freaking awesome. Seriously, go watch this if you haven't already. And this video is probably not going to be like professional quality or anything. I'm not even showing my face, mostly because the screen recorder I have isn't utilizing my laptop's built-in camera. So here it is, just a random picture I found on the internet for the moment. But when relevant, I'll switch over to Google or something. So first off, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, produced by the fine people at Illumination. I have been waiting on this for such a long time, and I was stoked about it, and it was just about everything I would want it to be. Like if I rated this, I would definitely give this a 10 out of 10. I am a cinephile for sure. I love movies, love cinema. I love movies as much as the next guy, but 5 years ago, at the beginning of 2018, my aunt from Alabama got me this cool thing called, any of y'all ever heard of MoviePass? MoviePass was this company that had this notoriously bad business model that quickly bankrupted them because they had like a subscription service where you could see one free movie a day. I repeat, one free movie a day. Sounds awesome, and it only cost like $120 a year, but that's kind of what put them out of business. Is they were offering way too much for too little of a price to keep them afloat. So throughout the year of 2018, that's kind of when I became a cinephile. It was awesome, and I kid you not, I saw 71 movies for free. 71, all for free in that single year, all for free. including a bunch of heavy hitters like Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But because they were all for free, it also gave me a lot of leeway to see a lot of other movies that I might not have wanted to pay for, you know? That's kind of when I discovered that I have low standards and I love just about every movie I see. Like the movie Rampage, which came out that year, starring Dwayne Johnson about the big-ass gorilla. Love it. Um, what's another movie from that year that not everybody really enjoyed? Wow, I can't think of Action Point with Johnny. What's his face? Who was? I'm sorry, I can't remember the guy's name. Johnny Knoxville. Johnny Knoxville. As you can see over here, right here where my mouse is, that movie got some pretty bad reviews, but I actually love that movie. The one movie I didn't enjoy from that year was Red Sparrow, starring Jennifer Lawrence. That sucked. That movie sucked. I can literally count on like 6 fingers the amount of movies I do not enjoy. So that's part of what I've been up to since kind of not making my own videos anymore, as I've become a big, big, big cinephile. I actually keep a list now of every movie I've ever seen, and I'm currently, with having seen the Mario movie now, I'm currently at 752. Yeah, that's how dedicated I am to it, and I can pull up my list right now if you want me to. I'll probably do it later. So yeah, I'm the kind of, even before I became an avid movie like fanatic back in 2018. Before I move on, the joke in my family is that I'm the one who put MoviePass out of business because, like I said, I saw 71 movies for free in a single year, so I may as well have put them out of business. It was funny. You know, they got more and more restrictive as time went on, and they realized they were losing money, and they had to cut corners somehow. But I still made it work. I still saw 71 movies. I mean, who else can say that? So I'm the kind of guy, cinephile or not, that will find out about a movie like 6 years before it's even released. Like in 27, I'm sorry, give me a second. I need to go get some water. My mouth is dry. I, okay. You know, I think what it is my uncle got me a $20 bill for Christmas, and he said put it towards a ticket for the Mario movie, and any change you have left over you can use for popcorn, and that's exactly what I did. I piled on the popcorn butter, and every time I do that, it always dries me up for like the rest of the day. My mouth is going to be like this for the rest of the day, but it was totally worth it. So, like I said, I'm the kind of guy who knows about a movie like 6 years in advance. Like when DreamWorks made that Trolls movie back in 2016. I've not seen it, but I was aware of that like 3 years ahead of time. The Mario movie in question just came out today, but I'd known about that ever since they announced that back in, what was it, 2019? Whew, boy, that was the year I finished college. And then, like, the biggest example of I know about this stuff way before anyone else does, probably the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie. So the release date for that was February 2020, delayed from November 2019. Oh, you want to talk about low standards? So the original Sonic design that everybody hates, you know, this thing right here. I'm probably the only person on planet Earth who legitimately did not care about that. You know, now, did the new design they came up with look a lot better? Absolutely. But would I have paid a lot to see a movie with that? Absolutely. I didn't really care either way. It looked pretty cool. So, but the point is, the Sonic movie, I heard about that back in 2015. 2015, nearly 5 whole years before the film actually came out. That was when I was just finishing high school. I mean, I just turned 18. I was fresh off my childhood then. Yeah, I'm old. If you want to do the math, I'm about to turn 26. Beastly Charizard 13 is actually Beastly Charizard going on 26, and that's actually literally why I had the number 13 in my username, in case you wanted to know. Is because I was so back in the day. This is when I had dreams of becoming a YouTube star, and obviously that never really panned out. But you never know. I couldn't wait to start making YouTube videos. It was just like 7th grade, but I found out one day, it was like April 2010. you had to be 13 to make a YouTube account. And, I was an honest child. I was a good little boy. I wasn't going to break the rules. So I waited patiently till the day I turned 13. Bam. So that's why I have the 13 in my username. I don't know if any of my old subscribers, like my very, very first few, then still watch my videos anymore. All my old YouTube friends, like Carlos Casti and DeReal FJV and Ann Robinson and Jason Rooks 2001, giving you a shout out here because you were my third ever subscriber, and now I have close to 900. It is crazy how much my subscriber count has like tripled in just the span of a month. And again, I think the Super Bowl commercials, I don't intend, I know I'm taking a huge risk uploading those because of copyright and shit. I don't intend to break the law there. But, I'm an archival. I'm an all or nothing archival kind of person. Like, you should see my apartment and how much crap I have laying around. I make commercials of Super Bowl. I make playlists of Super Bowl commercials, and that's why I upload them because nobody else does. But I think that's what's made my popularity surge through the roof, and it's just so crazy. I mean, for the longest time, I had less than 100. Then I finally got to 300, and in the span of like 2 months, suddenly I'm close to 1,000. I'm like, holy crap! And the Jeep commercial, my most viewed video, and it's not even mine per se, has like 1 million views now. And normally I'd be celebrating off the walls, but there's only so much I can celebrate because, again, I just uploaded that for archival purposes. It's not really my video, and I'm not making a claim that it's my content because it's obviously not. Okay, so enough rambling. One more example about the I know about a movie before was cool thing. The Captain Underpants movie that came out in 2017, I knew about that all the way back in 2011. So, is the Mario movie good? Yes or no? Yes, 1,000,000 times yes. I would definitely give it a 10 out of 10. Long story short, though, before I continue, for reasons I'll get into later, while this movie is nearly perfect, and I would definitely give it a 10 out of 10, it's not on the level of, say, the two Sonic the Hedgehog movies. So in case it wasn't obvious to you yet, since I'm going to be talking long about this movie, big spoiler alert is in order, so hopefully I can make this picture the thumbnail, and nothing spoilerly will be in it. Big spoiler alert for this movie, absolutely, because I'm going to be talking all about it. It's opening day, and there's already people who are being assholes and uploading clips of it to YouTube, and I just have such a problem with that, because, again, spoiler alert, when I saw Sonic the Hedgehog 2, there were some clips from that were uploaded before I saw it, because it took me like 2 weeks to see the movie, and it didn't ruin the movie for me, because there was still other stuff that surprised me, but the two things that I saw people upload clips of from that movie were major, and it's just so rude and inconsiderate for people who do that. I mean, there should be first off, there needs to be a change to the YouTube algorithm so these clips aren't pushed towards me. Half the damn problem was the algorithm. Like, I wouldn't have seen those clips if the algorithm didn't push it towards me. But of course, that doesn't solve the root issue of people who are uploading these clips in the first place. I mean, for one thing, you're just spoiling it for people. Like, fuck you guys who are doing that. Okay, so that's out of the way. So, like I said, big spoiler alert, if you have not seen this movie, then please do not watch this video. I don't want to ruin it for you. I got pretty lucky. That's part of the reason I saw this on opening day, is because I didn't want to get it spoiled for me. I got pretty lucky. But if you have seen the movie or just don't care, please, by all means, watch the rest of this. So, the title of this movie is obviously The Super Mario Brothers Movie. Not to be confused with the movie from 30 years ago that's literally called Super Mario Brothers, the one that had, I think, Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo in it. Do I have that right? Yeah. And Dennis Hopper and whoever these people are. There was a prostitute in that? Huh. That's funny. I've actually never seen that movie. I wanted to for a while when I first became a real Mario fan in 2009. My first ever Mario game was Mario Kart Wii in 2000 that I got as a Christmas gift in 2008. And then I got Mario Party 8 in 2009 for a birthday gift. I loved those two games and I played them to death, but I didn't really become like a big Mario fan until Christmas of 2009 when I got my DS Lite and Super Mario 64 DS, New Super Mario Brothers, and New Super Mario Brothers Wii. And throughout the following years, kind of history told its own story. Like, I probably have As you should know by now, I'm a big gamer. I probably have 110, 115 video games, and at least 40 of them are Mario alone. And like only 11 of them are Sonic, and another 11 are Pokemon. Those of you who have been watching me from the beginning, obviously you know New Super Mario Bros. Wii is one of them. I'm not gonna sit here and rattle them off just yet, but just know that. So naturally, I was pretty excited when I first heard back in 2019 that they were making this, and this is probably, everyone gives the Minions movie so much flack, but this is probably one of Illumination's better films. And I say the word better from other people's perspective because, again, I don't really care mostly. My opinions are my own. I like pretty much just about every movie I see. What is my daggum battery life? Why won't it show me? Okay, 73%. I love this laptop, but oh my gosh, it cannot hold a charge. It'll go out in like 3 hours. It's terrible. There's an outlet right across the room there, but still. So one thing I will say, as far as the production values and voice cast go, the voice cast was top notch. Charles Martinet is in the movie. He's just got a little cameo though in the beginning. The movie opens up with Bowser, who was voiced by Jack Black, and Kamek the Magic Koopa, voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, and then launching an attack on like the Penguin Kingdom, and the Penguin King is voiced by, forgive me if I pronounced this wrong, Kerry Payton, is that how it was pronounced? The guy who voiced Cyborg in Teen Titans. They got him to voice the Penguin King, and I find that pretty hilarious. You definitely can't tell it's the same voice though. That's the cool thing about it. And Bowser steals the star, which makes you invincible. Then it cuts to that video from the Super Bowl of the Mario and Luigi plumbing business and how they help the lady who's voiced by the same person who did the voice of Peach in the Super Mario Brothers Super Show cartoon. It cuts to that, and Mario and Luigi are in this restaurant called Punch Out, and that's another thing is that there's a lot of fan service and Easter eggs, like non-sexual fan service. Non-sexual fan service and Easter eggs, and this movie is kind of littered with it. And if you ask me, I think it's kind of, in a way, similar to the two Sonic movies. The two Sonic movies weren't full-on Easter eggs or fan service, but what they did have was pop culture references as opposed to this, where it's just basically in-universe lore Easter eggs for the most part. I think this movie has already actually gotten not too good reviews. As you can see over here, right now, its IMDb score is only 7.4 out of 10. Its Rotten Tomatoes score is 54%, but fuck Rotten Tomatoes. The movie Wonder Woman 1984 was like what sealed the deal for me as far as Rotten Tomatoes should not be your go-to source, because the way that movie works is 54% just means 54% of people I can't talk today. What the 54% number right here means is that 54% of people who saw the movie liked it. It doesn't matter if they say it was like 8 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, they just liked it. The problem is, that means only half the people, regardless of what they thought about it, liked it. So, in reality, if you do the math, if you were to go by their actual scores, then the score could be like 70 or 80 for all we know. But it's not going by raw numbers, it's just going by a simple, do you like the movie, yes or no question. And that issue really, really came to light with the movie Wonder Woman 1984, which opened up with like a 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it has since dropped down to a rather miserable 58%. And that movie is severely underrated. I'm not sure why people hate that. But again, I like about every movie I see. Speaking of Wonder Woman, though, oh my gosh. Spoiler alert, if you've not seen Shazam! Fury of the Gods, skip ahead like 30 seconds. Wonder Woman appears in that movie too, and it is the stupidest ex machina I've ever seen. Billy Batson actually dies, and she brings him back to life, and like that's her only purpose in that movie. Okay, spoilers over. Back to the Mario movie. The Mario movie, Charles Martinet does have one little neat cameo. When Mario and Luigi are in this Punch-Out Pizzeria restaurant, they're watching their own commercial, and there's this dude who looks like Jumpman from the Donkey Kong game, and he's actually playing the original Donkey Kong arcade game, and his voice is Martinet's, and he was saying, "What, are you kidding me? That commercial was great!" And that's what I ought to be I ought to be a voice impressionist. That's what I can do a lot of voice impressions, but that's for another video. And then across the hall on the other end of the pizzeria is a very obscure reference, if you want my opinion. There's an NES game called Wrecking Crew I've never played, and in it, Mario was like a construction worker, and Four-Man Spike was his boss. So Four-Man Spike is there, and he's saying, "Hey, Mario and Luigi, you guys are losers. I can't believe you walked out on a job I employed you at to start your own failing plumbing business." And it's pretty obvious that Mario and Luigi have had a rough start with their plumbing business. Like, they've gotten 0 customers so far, and the first customer they do get goes hilariously wrong, and kind of in a cliche way, their whole family is like looking down on them, saying, you guys suck. You'll never be any good, except for, like, the tender-hearted, the tender, caring Italian mom of the family, basically. And I mean that quite literally because, they're Italian. So back to the voice cast. People were so upset when they saw that Chris Pratt was going to do this, but he handled it really well. I think Nintendo was wise to reveal the voice cast like a whole year plus ahead of time. Because it was like late 2021 when they revealed the voice cast, and people were like, this is going to be terrible. Why is Chris Pratt doing this? And there were memes out the wazoo, but if you ask me, I think that was a wise thing to do, because that way, that gave plenty of time for people to warm up to it. And while, obviously, I think there's probably still 1 or 2 people that are not happy with the decision, there's definitely a lot more that are now, so that was good on their part. So Mario is Chris Pratt, Luigi is Charlie Day, and I know a lot of obscure things. I can tell you lots of obscure facts instead of more practical ones. Like, for instance, the only other thing I know Charlie Day from is, I know he's known for, whatever show he's known from, but I only know him from this obscure 2017 movie called Fist Fight, along with that Tide Super Bowl commercial he was in for the 2020 Super Bowl, where he kept messing up his shirt, and he had a crossover with Wonder Woman and the Bud Light Night and stuff. Seth Rogen was Donkey Kong. I could definitely tell Donkey Kong was a character I could tell right away. Going in knowing that was Seth Rogen, I could tell that was Seth Rogen's voice for sure. From other movies I've seen with him in, like Sausage Party. Anya Taylor-Joy. This was definitely, for lack of a better word, an out-of-the-box pick. I think maybe high risk, high reward was a better word for it, because she's a relatively new actress. She's up and coming. She's definitely making her big break, and she's a breakout star. And she handled this well. She really did. Now, kind of like Charles Martinet versus Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy versus the voice of Princess Peach in the games, who I ashamedly don't know the name of. Is it Leslie Swann? Who is it? Anya Taylor-Joy definitely doesn't sound anything like her in-game counterpart. And it was so weird. Has anybody ever seen this movie called The Menu from back in November? So that was an R-rated movie, completely different tone from this little PG movie. Anya Taylor-Joy played a sexual worker escort in that movie. And I think, I want to say she got nominated for an Oscar for that, but lost, or maybe it was a Golden Globe. And if she didn't get nominated, she should have. But I kept telling myself over the past few weeks, it's going to be so weird seeing Anya Taylor-Joy go from a escort to Princess Peach, of all people. But she really pulled that off. I think she's got a bright future ahead of her. And speaking of Princess Peach, she was such a badass in this movie. In the games, with the exceptions of like Mario 2 and Mario 3D World, Peach is so helpless and defenseless and can't do anything but just stand there and go, Mario! Oh my god, did I really get that on the first try? Alright, let me do that again. Mario! How was that feminine enough, do you think? Did I nail that? Anyway, she's so defenseless and so helpless in the games, and is just like so kidnapped so many times. It's like the movie version of her is this dark side of her personality that is like, okay, I've had enough of this shit. I better start learning some self-defense here. And she had this backstory, it's never addressed in the games why she's this human being that's ruling over a bunch of sentient mushrooms. But in the movie, they say that just like Mario arrived to the Mushroom Kingdom via this random warp pipe, Peach came out of a warp pipe too, as a baby, and the Toads just took her in and kind of trained her to be a badass fighter, and bam, she's just their princess, kind of just like that as the years go on. So there was some neat backstory with that. And what was I going to say next? But yeah, I really, really love how Peach is actually able to fight for herself for a change. It's such a nice departure from the games. I think that's one instance where you don't have to be faithful to the source material, is if you make it better. And they made that better. Ever since the second trailer came out, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And it definitely was. There were a ton of different little Easter eggs. They kind of threw that in there for the adults in the audience. I want to talk about that next, both with like the music and with the things that are like written in the background on a random picture. So Mario and Luigi are underground underneath the streets of Brooklyn, and they walk by this sign that says level 1-2, and they're underground. So obviously that's a reference to how the first underground level in the first Mario game was World 1-2. And a little piano music starts playing. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's another reference. And the movie's kind of full of all sorts of stuff like that. And I think that's where part of the criticism comes from. And I've heard some people complain that, the Sonic movies, while it wasn't Easter eggs, it was more pop culture references. I've heard at least a few people complain about that. Like there's that line in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 where Sonic and Knuckles are skiing down the mountain and Sonic's like, oh, great, the Winter Soldier. I mean, I crack up laughing at stuff like that, but others aren't easily impressed. But I'm very easy to impress, by the way. You should definitely know that. What are some other ones I can think of? So Bowser's plan isn't just to take over the world or all the worlds. He also wants to straight up marry Princess Peach. That if you're not a Mario fan, that comes like way out from left field. But if you've played the games, you know that Bowser definitely has a thing for Princess Peach, and marriage is actually something he tried to do to her in Super Mario Odyssey, and I think even the Mario OVA as well, for that matter. I might have to pause this. I probably have to go to the bathroom. And like the white top hat. Let me look it up. Yeah, this hat right here. He even from the game in Super Mario Odyssey, he even had that in the movie. I don't suppose there's any screenshots of it. Whew. Okay, I'm back. So, yeah, that was. I just had to pop out for a few minutes. Definitely just digested all my popcorn right there. If you get my drift. As I was saying, I was talking about the Easter eggs, both from the visual standpoint and from a music standpoint. Yeah, Bowser's white hat from Super Mario Odyssey, because Bowser wanted to marry Peach, so that was a nice little touch. And what's another one? So, towards the beginning, when Mario and Luigi are racing towards their one client in the game, they're going through this big construction mess. And like Luigi's falling behind, and like Mario's making it easier for him. Mario jumps over a fence and he slides down a pole, and there's this restaurant right next to it called Castle Burger, I think it was. And that was pretty cool. I got a chuckle out of that, because obviously, that's a reference to how in some Mario games, like the first one and the new Super Mario Bros. Games, he'll slide down a flagpole and run into a castle. I never really understood why there has to be a castle at the end of every level, but there just is. So obviously, Castle Burger with a random pole next to it. There's that. And then, like I said, the commercial they made in the beginning had the theme song from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show in it. And then there's Bowser's white hats, and what other things in there that would really qualify as Easter eggs? So there was one moment where they're doing the training montage. Let's see. Wonder if I can find a picture of it. Yeah, this section right here. So there's one moment. There's one moment where they're doing the training montage, and this is like when Peach kind of proves herself to be quite the badass fighter. There's this flagpole. There's this flagpole here. There's these mechanical build blasters and bullet bills and piranha plants and those falling platforms that I don't really know what their name is. That's not the Easter egg. The Easter egg is in the end when Peach goes through all that, and Peach goes down the flagpole, and the from the first Mario game where you complete a level, that starts playing. I want to say at one point, maybe I'm just getting it confused with the part of the credits where Gusty Garden Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy plays. I want to say there was one part during this scene where either Good Egg Galaxy or Gusty Garden Galaxy again was playing. There was at least one other moment where there was kind of that dun-dun-dun-dun-dun underground music playing. There's a scene where Mario and Luigi are like eating dinner in their bedroom, and suddenly they hear of this pipe burst that's like flooding all of downtown Brooklyn, and that's what leads them to the Mushroom Kingdom in the first place. And what I said earlier about the underground room with the sign that says level 1-2. But on the news report about it, Pauline of all people, the woman from Donkey Kong who served as Mario's love interest, she's standing there and she's like the mayor of the city. And that's another nod to Super Mario Odyssey, where she's the mayor of New Donk City in the beginning of that game, or the end. Okay, I'll be honest, I've not played Super Mario Odyssey. Pretty shameful of me. The game's 5 years old. It's like that and Super Mario Land 1 and 2 are like the three major mainline Mario games I still have not even gotten around to. With the closure of the 3DS eShop, I just recently purchased Mario Land and Mario Land 2 for my 3DS, but I still don't have Super Mario Odyssey. It's a shame, and it's like probably the best Mario game ever at that. So there's also that. There was a scene where they were racing on Rainbow Road because they go to get Donkey Kong's help, and Mario beats up Donkey Kong, and Cranky Kong is like the ruler of the Kong Kingdom, basically, and for some reason, Cranky is Donkey Kong's father now, which I don't really get why they did that, because in the games, he's his grandfather, not his father. But anyway, they go to make their carts, and like all the carts have hang gliders on them, like in Mario Kart 7 and 8, and there's like a custom kart selection tool where you can mix and match different like engines and tires and hang gliders, like in Mario Kart 7 and 8, and all the carts have an anti-gravity feature, also from Mario Kart 8. And they're racing on Rainbow Road because it's supposed to be like a shortcut from the Donkey Kong Kingdom back to the Mushroom Kingdom. And I don't know which of the Rainbow Road songs plays. I think it's either the one from Mario Kart 7, 8, Wii, or 64, one of those ones. But one of the Mario Kart songs plays for like a brief second. There's a ton of that stuff kind of scattered throughout the movie. And I can see why someone who kind of scrutinizes this stuff a little more than I do would definitely be put off by that. But I eat that shit up. I love it. I love little things like that. And again, it kind of reminds me of the Sonic movie with all its quirky little lines. Like in the first Sonic movie when Sonic randomly says, "Oh, what year is it? Is The Rock president?" And then in the second movie he's like, "Oh, great, the Winter Soldier." And he in the second movie, Sonic makes a reference to the backstage feud between The Rock and Vin Diesel. I eat that stuff for breakfast. Like, you can feed me a ton of that and I won't get upset. But I definitely see why other people kind of get put off by that, because there are certainly movies that are like written in that exact style, like 100%, that are supposed to be like original works, so to speak. I can't think of any specific examples, but I'm sure I can pull up my list here and run through them. What else was there? There were definitely tons of Mario enemies. You know, one thing you can certainly praise this movie for is the source material. I mean, for one thing, just look at this picture I've pulled up. You see the Piranha Plants, Bill Blasters, coin boxes, regular bricks, and talk about, you know, there was even a reference when Mario and Captain Toad. Oh, this was another audio thing, is when Mario first meets Toad, who is voiced by, was it Keegan-Michael Key? Can't remember. Yeah, Keegan-Michael Key. Keegan-Michael Key is the voice of Toad. When Mario first meets him, you can hear the Captain Toad music from Super Mario 3D World playing in the background. I love that. And they're walking through what is essentially Toad Town, and you see all this stuff like somebody's got like a Cheep in a bag, and there's like a dragon coin for sale from Super Mario World. And I think like the antique shop had like an axe, like, you know, in the first Mario game where you could kill Bowser by jumping on the axe. So they're going up that way, and they get to the front step of Peach's castle, and the two guards there, yeah, Peach actually has guards. The two guards there are like, "Halt, we can't let you in." And Mario's like, "We need to see the princess because my brother is in danger," because Luigi got captured by Bowser. And the two Toads here, this is one of those things, there's a bunch of references in this movie, but mostly they'll fly over kids' heads. You know, like in any children's film, there's going to be a lot of stuff in there that's kind of really for the adults in the audience, and mostly kids under 10 aren't going to get this because it's reference to the very first Super Mario Brothers game. But, people like my age and up would definitely get this. The Toad guards won't let them in, and they say, "Oh, the princess is not here. You know where she is? She's in another castle. You should look in another castle." And the other guard's like, "Ha ha, good one." And I laughed at that. Like, the woman next to me who was there with her grandkids definitely was silent on that. I don't think she quite got it. So, I mean, only Mario fans around my age and up are really going to get that. But, that's perfectly okay because, there's other stuff for everyone. This movie's for everybody. You really don't have to be a Mario fan to see this movie, and you really don't have to be a Mario fan to appreciate this movie. What you need to be a Mario fan for is appreciate the little in jokes like that, like the "your princess is in another castle" joke and stuff like that. Where was I going with this? And there's other Mario enemies in the game too. Bowser has Goombas and Koopa Troopas, and he doesn't know what a Spiny is, despite the fact that Spinies have been in the series since 1985. He's like, "My army, Goombas, Koopa Troopas," and the camera pans over to the Spinies and he says, "Oh, whatever those things are," and the Spinies are like, "Oh, that's sad." He doesn't know what the Spinies are called. The weird thing is, you see those two Spinies in the movie, but you don't see any Lakitus. Wow, yeah. Now that I'm saying that out loud, that's a real surprise. There are no Lakitus in this movie whatsoever. How do you have like a Mario Kart segment without Lakitu like pulling up people who fall off the track? That's real interesting. We also saw King Babam towards the end. So Bowser successfully takes over the Mushroom Kingdom, and Peach is like, "Okay, fine, I'll marry you if you won't hurt my people." So King Babam and King Boo are actually in the wedding audience, and King Babam is accidentally lit on fire, and naturally he blows up. So there was that. And there are power-ups in this movie. Like during I don't know where they're really getting the power-ups from. The movie kind of glosses over that. Whether or not that really needed to be explained. I'll kind of leave that up to you. But throughout the movie, one way that this is faithful to the source material is, in most Mario games, if Mario is small and tiny, he can't break regular brown brick blocks. But when he gets a mushroom, he can. That is exactly the case in this movie, because Mario is a little shorter than Peach. Like in the games, he's a little shorter than Peach, but with a mushroom, he's a little taller than Peach. When Mario does not have a mushroom in this movie, he can't break a brick. But Peach gives him a mushroom, Mario eats it, and bam, he can suddenly break the bricks and ground pound through them and do all sorts of stuff. One thing I found really, really weird is that Mario actually does not like mushrooms in this movie. No, I kid you not. He hates mushrooms. Like, he's eating dinner with his family, and there's mushrooms in his pasta, and he gives them all to Luigi. And I sympathize with him there, because I hate mushrooms too. Even a diehard Mario fan like myself, I really don't like mushrooms. And, I'm going to be teasing my mom here a little bit. She makes stuff with mushrooms all the time, and sometimes she leaves them out, but most of the time she makes it the way the recipe calls for. And I just same thing. I just kind of pick them off and give them to her. I don't like mushrooms. I don't like almonds. I don't like pecans. She has an obsession with pecan pies, but I guess that's the consequence of living in the South and having a bunch of family in Georgia. a little fun fact about me. No, I don't live in the deep South. If I didn't say this explicitly already, I live in North Carolina. So anyway, Mario does not like mushrooms, and that was such a shock to me. And kind of like the Princess Peach is a warrior thing. That's so different from the source material, but at the same time, you can interpret that as being totally necessary. Luigi is in Bowser's clutches, and Mario will do anything it takes to save him, even if it means eating food he doesn't like. You can kind of interpret it that way. That's how strong their brotherly bond is that Mario will do things like eating nasty old mushrooms to save him. That is a nice little detail if you look at it through that kind of lens. So the power-ups in this movie, we see Mario get the red mushroom, and we see him and Luigi get a star in the end, and naturally they're invincible. Mario, like I said, has a fight with Donkey Kong at the end, because the whole point of that was Princess Peach, Mario, and Toad go to the Jungle Kingdom where Cranky Kong reigns supreme. And, it's got a bunch of Kongs in it, but they refuse to help him. Cranky says, "If you beat my son Donkey Kong in combat, we'll help you." And there's more power-ups in that movie, too. Mario gets a mini mushroom, the itty-bitty blue and white dotted mushroom, which turns him really small and pretty much helpless. That's about the stupidest power-up in the whole series, if you ask me. That's been in, like, all the new Super Mario Brothers movies, and new Super Mario Brothers games, and I only get it if you absolutely have to, because there's really no other point for it. That's just it. And one thing I do not like about New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS is I feel like it's way too reliant on the mini mushroom. It's not even so much reliant on it, but kind of like the. Actually, this can apply to the New Super Mario Bros. 1 and 2, both the DS game and the 3DS game. The mini mushroom is extremely situational and has no explicitly good purpose other than to get into these little nooks and crannies that you couldn't otherwise get to. And yeah, it's helpful if you want to get like all the star coins, but most of the time it's just this bonus area with a crap ton of coins in it. New Super Mario Bros. 2 does that, and it doubles down on it because not only are there areas you can only get to with the pathetically pointless mini mushroom, there's also areas you can only get to with the golden flower, and you can't just find a golden flower on most stages. No, you got to get a toad house to it, walk back to that level, you go in there, the area that's blocked off with bricks, and there's a bunch of coins in it, yeah, but it's just like, why is it forcing you to replay that? The gold flower actually makes sense because that way you're going through the level and getting a ton more coins that way. But I've really never liked the mini mushroom because of that. It's just way too situational and not really practical. But Mario actually eats that, and he has no idea that it's going to shrink him instead of grow him. So Donkey Kong just like flicks him with his finger, and then he gets the Super Bell. And you ever played Super Mario 3D World? There's a power up in that one that's kind of like the whole focus of the game called the Super Bell, and it gives Mario this cat costume. And just like in the game, in the movie, as soon as he gets the Super Bell, he flips the tables and he starts beating the crap out of Donkey Kong. He's swiping at him with his claws. He's pouncing on him real quickly. He's got these cat-like reflexes and he's darting all over the place. I wonder if I can pull up a picture from the movie with him wearing that outfit. Oh, this is another cool thing. If you Google the Super Mario Bros. Movie, there's this question mark box right here. All it does is just make that sound if you click it, but it's still pretty cool. Basically, just do that to your heart's content. Yeah, right here, right here. Now that is extremely faithful to the Wii U, right there. That picture. Talk about faithful to its source material. And then there was the fire flower and the ice flower. Now the fire flower, Peach gets the fire flower at one point because they're like camping in the middle of the field, and she gets the fire flower and she like starts a fire for them. And her outfit is exactly like her fire flower outfit from Super Mario 3D World. So I love the faith, again, kind of drawing from the source material there. And they even have the ice flower. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's been a single game where you can play as Peach and use the ice flower, so that's a completely different outfit. Spoiler alert, she looks just like Elsa. Like, I kid you not. Like, except for maybe the hair color. She reminded me so much of Elsa when that happened. So during the wedding scene, Peach has this bouquet, like the bride does in a wedding, but there's secretly an ice flower hidden inside. So she basically turns the tables on Bowser and says, "No, I'm not going to marry you, you piece of crap." And she gets the ice flower, and she starts throwing ice balls, and she freezes Bowser solid. And she looks so much like Elsa, and she's got this like combat ability, like with Elsa's powers, and it's just that was cool. So one other thing, I'll go back to the Rainbow Road part here, because there was this, like I said, there was this whole homage to the Mario Kart games. So we see here in this picture, there's the blue turtle shell with wings and the Bob-omb. So there was a sequence where all the different Kongs and Mario and Peach and Toad were riding Rainbow Road to get back to the Mushroom Kingdom as soon as they could. Bowser shows up and ambushes them, and they're all throwing green shells at each other. Somebody's throwing up a bomb on them. There's this one Koopa who's like the head of the Koopa army, and he's got this blue helmet on, and he turns himself into the blue shell like in Mario Kart, and it blows up Mario's cart, it blew up Mario's cart, if I'm recalling correctly. It blew up somebody's, and it chopped Rainbow Road in half. And again, that would have been funny if like Lakitu, kind of lifted people up off the track if they fell off the track, but that would have kind of, in a way, taken away from the tension of the movie. Bloopers and Cheep Cheeps made an appearance at some point during the more aquatic scenes. When Mario first arrives in the Mushroom Kingdom, there's those little bitty buds from Super Mario 3D Land and 3D World, along with the, what's the name of the bramble creature? Oh yeah, the Bramball from New Super Mario Bros. Wii makes like a 5-second appearance in the movie. Is there a picture of it here somewhere? No, maybe not. Oh, right here. Right there. So that's kind of about the gist of that. And again, there was one Rainbow Road song playing on the Rainbow Road sequence. I don't know which of the Mario Kart games it was from. One last thing, towards the end, Mario and Donkey Kong. You know that big giant eel from some of the Mario games? What's the name of that thing anyway? Mare, or Unagi, or simply eels, whatever you want to call them. So, he's been in a few Mario games. He actually eats Mario and Donkey Kong for a while. He straight up eats them. And this is another criticism. This is actually really the only piece of criticism I have for this movie. I feel like this movie is way too short. It's only an hour and 32 minutes, which for a kid's movie, I guess, is okay. But I feel like maybe they could have had an extra 10 to 15 minutes of kind of characters emotionally connecting with each other and having a little more, for lack of a better word, a little more substance. I mean, it's like they go from one thing to the next. I am not saying this movie is overly fast-paced. No. Let me be abundantly clear on that. You ever seen this movie called Wonder Park? Wonder Park. WONDERPARK. Okay, so if you do see that movie, I recommend you take drugs beforehand, because I think whoever was in charge of the pacing for that movie was on some seriously lethal amounts of cocaine, because, oh my god, that movie goes by way too fast. I freaking kid you not. It's an 80-minute movie, and when I first saw it, it felt like it was over and done with in a matter of 20 minutes, and that is not a good thing. So the Mario movie comes nowhere close to that, and it's not like other kind of fast-paced movies like the Hotel Transylvania franchise. It's kind of like not even a step below that, but 2 steps below that. Like, the pacing for a kid's movie whose target audience might not be interested in kind of more slow, drawn-out scenes, I think it fits it well, but I think it could have bothered with some little bit of 10, maybe just 10 minutes of extra runtime, just so they could squeeze some kind of emotional dependency in, emotional connections in there. I mean, it's like they go pow, pow, kick, pow, punch, next scene, pow, pow, kick, pow, punch, as opposed to, instead of something like pow, pow, kick, punch. Oh, I don't know if I can do this. Do I look like the guy who can save the world? Next scene, pow, pow, kick, punch. Yeah, something like that. And the Mario and Donkey Kong getting eaten by the eel makes me think about that. Because Mario and Donkey Kong are kind of like rivals, and they have this little feud going on. They get eaten by the eel, and both of them are like lamenting that. Mario is like, I'm going to die, and my dad's going to think I'm a loser. And Donkey Kong is the same way. He's like, well, now my dad's going to think I'm a loser too, and I'm going to die too. That right there could have been a good instance, kind of like the scene from Finding Nemo where Dory and Marlin, was that his name? Marlin, get eaten by the whale, and Dory is like, just kind of not really caring. She's so carefree and clueless, and Marlin's like, well, this is it for me. I'm not gonna do it. Something like that would have been appropriate, I think. Mario and Donkey Kong kind of talking out their differences and talking about their issues and forging a real bond with one another. But no, and the minute they say, oh, we're going to die and our fathers are going to be so disappointed in us, the minute they say that, boom, they're out of the eel. I kid you not, it's over and done with in 2 minutes flat. I just saw the movie 4 hours ago, and I don't even remember how it happened. I think Donkey Kong pounded there was a bunch of question mark blocks inside the eel. I think Donkey Kong just pounded one of them real hard. It kind of made the eel burp. It basically pounded them from the inside, and the eel kind of just burped them out. So that was a bit too quick. The movie's pacing was fine, but it's stuff like that makes me feel like this movie should have been longer. And again, I hate to be making so many comparisons to everything else, but Sonic the Hedgehog 2, on the flip side, was right at 2 hours long, and I seem to recall that being a criticism of the movie, was saying that for a kid's movie it was way too long. I'm sure a good balance could have been struck here, but for lack of a better word, there wasn't a whole lot of substance. Everything kind of hopped around from point A to point B to point C to point D to point E, point F, G, H, I, whatever letter comes next. K, I guess. And not a whole real lot of sit down and talk about things in between. I mean, it's not to say the movie had none of that, but it certainly could have benefited from more. Thankfully, that is really the only piece of criticism I have for this otherwise amazing movie. At the same time, though, I would definitely give this movie a 10 out of 10, but for reasons I can't really explain, unless I already have in the hour I've been talking about this, I do think the Sonic movies kind of did it better. don't ask me why. If I said it already and didn't really realize I said it, maybe I did. But this movie is almost perfect. Like I said, there's the whole substance issue, and like if I rated these movies, I gave both of the Sonic movies a 10 out of 10, and the Mario movie is absolutely a 10 out of 10. It's a fun ride. It's a fun adventure. I highly recommend you see it, gamer or not. Everyone will find some amount of enjoyment in this, no matter what your opinion is. This movie was a fun, colorful adventure. I just wish it kind of had a little more connection, so to speak. There were some things about it I really enjoyed, like I said about the tons of Easter eggs and how Peach is like a warrior now. But then there were some others that are like, where's the talking here? I feel like these characters kind of just met and just were cool with that. At least with the Sonic movies, there's plenty of scenes where, Sonic kind of sits down and like talks about whatever, and there's a little more connection there between the characters. In fact, so this is in kind of an out of the box comparison here. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Did anybody actually see that? I did. In fact, I actually, because it came out on a Wednesday in February, and there weren't any movie theaters nearby showing it, I drove all the way to Ashboro to see it, and I actually took off a day of work. I actually put in a PTO day at my crappy hospital job that I had, and went and saw that. I enjoyed it. If you wanted me to give it a rating, I would go 8. I would say 8 out of 10. That's another thing, though. You know what? You want to talk about lack of substance? That movie had zero substance whatsoever, and its Rotten Tomato scores literally 4%, if I'm recalling correctly. 4, yeah, 4%, 3.2 out of 10 on IMDb, and 16% on Metacritic. That was an hour and 40-minute movie, and it had no substance in it whatsoever. The girls get to the cabin, they get killed off one by one. End of story. It was like there was nothing. There was like no, for lack of a better word, there was no substance about it whatsoever. No. They had the backstory about why they wanted to kill people because Christopher Robin left them to die, but that was it. And I feel like that's partial, and I feel like that's kind of because. Well, I was going to say it's because Pooh couldn't talk, but, Michael Myers never talks either, and some of the Halloween movies have a little more substance in it, like the 2018 movie and Halloween Kills, for that matter. Halloween Ends was bad. But yeah, that's kind of... Now, this movie had a lot more substance than Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I would give Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey like an 8 out of 10. But that's my one complaint about that. So... I wonder, final point of talking here, because I've gone over about like the music and the Easter eggs and how the characters interacted and, how I feel about certain things and stuff. Another thing that could have, and this kind of goes back to what I said about connections between the characters, I feel like this movie straight up was missing a scene. So in the end, everything Mushroom Kingdom related somehow gets sucked back into Brooklyn, and like Bowser's in Brooklyn and he's got his star. Mario and Luigi are finally reunited. They team up. They get the star. They're invincible. They kick Bowser's ass. They force feed him a mini mushroom, and they shrink him, and they keep him in this cage because he's really small now. But then we cut to the ending, and Mario and Luigi are suddenly living in the Mushroom Kingdom, and I'm like, where the hell did that come from? I mean, yeah, you got to do that to be loyal to the games, but I mean, like, there was no scene where Mario and Luigi said, hey, Ma, hey, Pa, hey, brothers and sisters, we're going to go live in the Mushroom Kingdom now. And then the parents would, like, wish them well with, like, a teary goodbye. No, none of that. The minute they capture Bowser, they're suddenly in the Mushroom Kingdom again with no explanation. Like, why would Mario and Luigi leave Brooklyn behind? I'm sure they had a reason for it, but we don't know what the reason is. I can't believe they skipped something like that out. I mean, that... It felt like... the ending was a little lacking. Again, it was almost as if there was an entire scene missing. But other than that, like I said, I still love this movie enough to look over it. Call it bias because of my love of the source material, but that's my thoughts on that. One thing I really found funny was when Luigi is like in this cage and like everyone that Bowser's captured is in the cage, and there's a creature that I think it might be a Luma from Super Mario Galaxy, and the Luma's like, oh, the only hope in here is the sweet, sweet release of death. And it's just like, happily cuckoo bananas cynical Luma. And like it's actually sad when they're saved in the end. The Luma's sad that it didn't get to die. And then Bowser was like, again, Bowser has the hots for Peach like he does in the games. So he's practicing this ridiculous marriage proposal scene, and he's like playing the piano, and he's like, peaches, peaches, peach. And Jack Black, who voices Bowser, is just being all ridiculous when he's doing that. I think it's obvious he probably had fun recording that. Jack Black did a great Bowser. You definitely couldn't tell it was Jack Black, you know. But I loved it. And like Kamik, the Magic Koopa, is like dressed as Peach. And like as Bowser is like practicing the romantic courtship of it all. that was definitely one of the funniest things in the game. And then like I said, there were a few other kind of what you might call briefly funny moments of like, you know, people getting punched in the face and stuff like that. And the princess in another castle joke was a good one. So while it wasn't absolutely perfect, my final thoughts on this movie is that it is absolutely well worth your time. Definitely go see it. Full 10 out of 10. There are some things about it I think could have been improved, and I think other video game movies may have done a little better with it, but I'm looking forward to how this turns out. You know, box office reviews are in for now. Box office remains to be seen. They've already confirmed this guy right here. They've already confirmed Donkey Kong's getting his own spin-off movie. Now, during the scene where Mario is fighting Donkey Kong, which I guess may have been a reference to the Mario versus Donkey Kong games, now that I think about it. During that scene, we see a few brief shots where Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, and I think Chunky Kong from Donkey Kong 64 are sitting there, and they're cheering him on. And Cranky Kong's like, shut up, Diddy Kong, everyone simmer down. So if I had to guess, and supposedly Kiddy Kong was seen during the Mario Kart scene, I didn't see him. If I had to guess, the Donkey Kong spinoff could very well be focused on Donkey Kong Country. That'd be nice. There was also a post-credit scene where down in that underground room, the room I said was labeled as level 1-2, down in that room, there is this random green Yoshi egg, and it starts to crack. The screen fades to black, and you hear, Yoshi! There was a brief moment where Mario, Peach, and Toad were traveling to the Donkey Kong Kingdom, and they passed by a bunch of Yoshis. But the fact that I felt like the credit scene was a bit underwhelming, but from what I can glean from that, I think if they're going to make a sequel to this thing, it's probably going to be heavily based off of Super Mario World. That is my guess. Maybe they leave the Mushroom Kingdom and they go to Dinosaur Land. And hey, if they're going to Dinosaur Land, you know, maybe Bowser breaks free and like he introduces the Koopalings or Bowser Jr. That'd be pretty fucking cool. So that's my ultimate thoughts on the matter. Thanks for listening. You know, if you want me to talk more about the movies I saw in 2018 or movies I see in the future in depth, you know, please let me know. You know, if this gets popular enough, I think I might just do that. So, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, out now in theaters. Please go see it. And if you do go see it, please, I beg of you, please, do not upload clips of it to YouTube for like a month. Don't ruin it for other people, okay? All right. Goodbye now, everyone. Thanks for listening.